This is like, this is live with a phone.
Hey, what's up, YouTube? What's up?
Ah, what's going on, Facebook?
Hey, what's up, Facebook?
We see y'all. My husband is trying to, my camera.
This is situated.
It's fine. No. I want it like that.
It's fine, just like that.
What did you just do?
I just raised it up a little.
No, I don't want it like that. I like it like I had it. You know what I'm saying? Come on.
What's up, 529 in the house again?
All right, we are ready.
Hey, YouTube, let us know whether or not you can hear us.
If you can hear us, let us know. Usual, we want you to let us know where you are watching us from. What's going on, Double T? We see you.
Mm-hmm.
As you are coming into the room, let us know where you're coming from, where you representing, who you holding down tonight. Where you at?
Hey, y'all gonna have to forgive us. We both are coming off of a flu, and so we ain't feeling 1,000% today, but we're gonna bring it like we always do, because we know that the information that we bring is valuable. And hopefully, what I'm asking that you all do is please share, because I know it's somebody on your timeline, somebody that's one of your friends, family, somebody that can benefit from this information right here.
So what are we talking about today?
So we got a good one in store for y'all tonight. Double T says, I've been with my wife for a year. Anniversary April the 18th.
Oh, April 18th.
All right, it's coming up, bro. It's coming up.
Ah.
Yes, indeed. We got another one coming up on May 27th.
Yeah, you had to look over something.
I just wanted to make sure. I had to just look at the window just to make sure.
I was like, what are you looking at?
Like May 28th, May 27th. So
no, May 27th.
Yeah.
Look, y'all are coming from all over. Charlotte, North Carolina. I see you, Erica. And Shonda's so blessed. I see you. Hello from Georgia. I see you, Kay. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who have not joined us in the past or maybe new to us, this is my fabulous, my dynamic, my everything, my wonderful, awesome husband, Aize.
You try to drop that on the beat, huh?
On the beat. Yeah. Hey.
And this right here is my spectacular, my amazing, my incredible, my sensational wife, Leon.
Oh, sensational.
Yeah.
All right, I strive to be.
Well, you are, baby.
I strive.
You really are.
I strive.
Mm-hmm. And so for those who don't know us, we're both licensed therapists, but as we always say every single week, while we are licensed therapists, this right here ain't therapy. This is edutainment, information, education, whatever you want to call it. But it's for your edification, because we recognize that when it comes to our community, it's important that we prioritize relationships. And so this right here is going to give you some good strategies and some ideas in terms of how you can put yourself as well as your relationship first.
Mm-hmm. All right, y'all. We hope you all are ready. We hope you are ready this evening. So let's get it started. Are you ready? Again, as you are watching, what we always say to you is to please take notes. You know, you might think like, I ain't really trying to do that. I'm just chilling right now. I'm sitting on my couch on my phone. I don't know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. But if you get serious about it and you take some notes, it's going to be helpful to you, because there will be something that will stand out to you this evening that's only for you. It's going to hit you the way that it hits you. Right. Because, see, Double T is going to hear it some way, and then Kay from Georgia is going to hear it another way. But they will have heard the same thing. Absolutely. But they will get two different messages, and that's because there's only certain things that hit you a certain way, because it's a certain message you're supposed to get. So we want y'all to take notes this evening, and we want you to please share this video. Share it on your timeline. We are talking tonight about some good stuff. Conflict. What?
Conflict management.
Management.
You know, one of the reasons why we're lifting this topic up tonight is because, you know, when couples come and sit in front of us, hey, what's up, Frederick? I guess you're saying from Frederick, Maryland. When couples come and sit in front of us, whether it be virtually or in person, the number one reason is that they're coming to us is really based off of the fact that they got beef in a relationship. There's some type of drama that has led them to sit in front of us asking for some solution, some type of help, some type of intentional focus to help them, you know, get through and navigate whatever issue it is that they're dealing with. And so conflicts arise in relationships all the time, y'all. Mm-hmm. Conflicts are inevitable. And what we often say is that it's not the fact that you want to be in a relationship and have no conflict at all. I know we all want that, but the reality is that conflict is going to exist. And so how do you negotiate that thing being as though it's going to exist? the way you negotiated it is really like work with your partner in terms of working around it, working through it, but primarily working on yourself to be able to manage how you deal with the conflict as it comes up. And so again, tonight we're going to be talking about some strategies and some reasons why conflict comes up and why y'all be beefing, why y'all be fighting in your relationship, and how do you avoid that type of stuff in the future?
So I want to share a couple of things real quick. Sometimes we were with a couple. This has happened actually more than once. Hey, South Carolina, we see you. Welcome. This has happened on more than one occasion where we're talking with a couple and they're like, yeah, we don't argue. Anybody out there right now listening who's in that category? We just don't really get into it. Mm-hmm. We don't argue. We just don't. We didn't argue for the whole first year. Yeah. We didn't argue. We didn't have one argument the whole first 2 years. Anybody like that? Double T, you said yes. You're like that. Well, mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. What you think I'm about to say? Where they do that at? Look, that's not the goal. That's not the goal. Okay, so I have to be honest, Double T. And for those of you all who find yourself in that category, yeah, we just don't argue. I have to be honest. I'm trying to figure out where y'all, what y'all do. It makes me wonder when I hear people say that, like, do you all have real conversations? Do you say what you really are feeling about certain things? Do you keep it to yourself so that you can avoid conflict? So my husband just talked about what we're going to be talking about this evening, which is how to navigate conflict more successfully, how you can avoid some pitfalls that just is a straight up setup. As soon as you open your mouth and you say certain things, you're just setting yourself up. We do want to help you with that, but the goal is not to avoid them entirely. The goal is to know how to navigate the conflict, not to eliminate the conflict. Write it down, note takers. The goal is to learn how to what? Navigate. Navigate the conflict, not eliminate it. Okay? So that's what we want you all to be paying attention to and looking for this evening. How do I navigate this thing more successfully? Because successful couples, they learn how to negotiate it. They learn how to manage the conflict. They do not eliminate it. I shared this before and I'll share it again. About 77% of conflict that happens in relationships, it's just managed. It's not eliminated. It actually doesn't get resolved. There's been research that's been proven, and it's there to back it up. It doesn't get resolved, y'all. So that means about 20-something%, 30% of the conflict does get resolved, and people stay on that thing until they can work it out. But the great and vast majority does not get resolved. What does that say to us, y'all? What does that tell us? What it tells us is that on some level is natural, normal, and to be expected when two individuals come together in a relationship and have to learn how to blend and bend. Blend and bend, right? And that's what you're learning to do when you learn how to face the conflict. Not say we don't argue at all. We don't have no problems. Nah, bruh. That's not the goal. Yeah. Okay. So let's get going and let's talk about getting through some of this conflict and understanding why couples fight in the first place.
Yeah. So why do couples fight in the first place? And research has shown that when two individuals come together, what happens is that you're trying to blend, like my wife, she mentioned a moment ago, you're trying to blend and bend to accommodate each other in a relationship. At least that's what the goal and the objective should be. And so when you're attempting to blend, it's a difficult thing to do, y'all. It's a real messy, it's a awkward and uncomfortable thing. I mean, I do, and so do you.
No, I don't have a hard time.
No, you do.
You have a hard time.
And guess what, y'all? So what we did not share is that we've been together for 23 years, married for 15, and we got 5 children. And so can you imagine how much blending and bending and buckling and all of that type of stuff, yielding has had to take place in our relationship over the course of these 23 years. Yes. And so I love my wife and I love my children dearly. But what I will say is that I've had to learn to negotiate and navigate conflict in our relationship because we got 2 different personalities. And so when I speak about this whole blending piece, a lot of times conflict arises because we got 2 different historical backgrounds. We got 2 different reference points. We got 2 different upbringings that have led us to a point where we made the decision to join and become one. But that becoming one, y'all,
My.
That becoming one is not an easy thing to do. And I'm not laughing.
I was like, that laugh seemed loaded. I was like, you had to look back at you like, what are you laughing at?
No, I'm laughing because just the idea of the fact that you got to divorce yourself from yourself to some degree in order to merge and become one with your partner.
Oh, wow.
You got your own idiosyncrasies and your own ideals and beliefs about how relationships should be, how you should be, and how your partner should be. But when you step into the relationship, you got to divorce yourself and begin to separate yourself from some of those ideals and learn to cling to your partner and cleave to your partner. Because the reality is that y'all are supposed to be building something together. And again, it's a beautiful thing if you do it right. It's an uncomfortable thing if you do it right.
Sometimes.
But it's an extremely rewarding thing if you do it right. And as long as you stick to it and you're looking to get to the ultimate outcome, which is a really healthy and wonderful relationship with your partner. So again, y'all, the reason why conflicts arise in relationship, again, what I would say fundamentally is the fact that we're coming from two different backgrounds.
And here's the thing. This is what I want everybody to understand. This goes along with what I already said. In terms of not wanting to eliminate it, but we want to navigate it. Conflict is healthy. Did you hear what I said? Conflict is healthy. It's productive. It can be productive. Okay, let me qualify that. It can be productive. Have you ever worked in a place, y'all? Some of y'all have you ever worked in a place? I don't care if you were working at McDonald's or you working, at a school or whatever, and don't nobody want to say nothing different than the boss? Nobody wants to say anything. Like, people are sitting around, y'all having y'all meeting, your weekly meeting or whatever it is, or you're having an all-staff meeting, and there's no disagreement. It's just, and matter of fact, sometimes some people don't even ask you what you think. They make up rules and say this is what's going to happen and this is how we're moving now. Didn't ask anybody who has to do the actual work what they thought. Anybody know what I'm talking about? You the one do the work. If other people get to decide about the work and don't want to ask you what you think about it. Oh. I know some people know what I'm talking about, right? And so there is no willingness on the part of the management folks, and no willingness even when people do put it out there. I've been in that situation. You put it out there and still don't nobody say nothing. Well, what do y'all think? But don't nobody want to say anything because we don't want conflict. We don't want to stand out. We don't want to be seen as somebody making trouble, right? Conflict is healthy because if you're willing to take a risk and you're able to say, you know what? That right there doesn't work for me. That right there might cause this problem. You might not have thought about this because you don't come from that perspective. You never seen it from this framework before because you come down a different path to get to the same place that I'm at. If you're not willing to say that, then you can't take the relationship, the job, the position, right? Your boo and you to another level. Yeah. So why does this conflict happen? It is necessary. It is necessary for there to be growth. Anytime you're getting ready to move and shift into a new place of awareness and a new place of healing, there's conflict within yourself. There's conflict going on. You get mad and then you feel inspired and then you feel scared and then you feel excited and then you feel mad again, right? Like those kinds of things can happen, and that's conflict right there. You're at war with yourself because you want to move and then you slip back into your ways and you come forward, right? So conflict is productive. It helps for things to get mixed up so that you can move and be pushed. And that's the process for human evolvement and evolution. And that's going to happen in your relationship if you're willing to see it for what it is and not be afraid of the conflict. And we've got to, I do want us to get into a little bit, I hope we will, as to why some of us are kind of afraid of conflict, right? And on some level, and then some of us are conflict seekers. And that's all we want. We just want to have some, we don't even know that's what we're looking for. We're looking for some contact. You know what I'm saying? Like any kind of contact, slap you upside the head with my words contact, fighting and fussing contact, anything, because I'm trying to get a rise and I don't even recognize that you can do it a whole nother way. It doesn't have to be drama in order for you to get your needs met.
So that actually leads us to the first point that we want to speak about here in terms of like the reasons why couples engage in conflict and why they be beefing with each other. I mentioned a moment ago that we all have our habitual patterns of behavior based off of our historical reference points that lead us to a particular place in a relationship where we're going to do us. We're going to show up a particular way. We're going to show up how we do. And sometimes that rubs up against our partner the wrong way and agitates our partner. And so fundamentally, because we're two different people, conflict is inevitable. But one of the things that researchers have shown is that when it comes to relationships specifically, oftentimes couples are engaging in conflict because of one core fundamental thing, which can be broken down into 5 different areas. And that one fundamental thing is the fact that unmet needs are not being met. Your partner has needs that are not being met. You have needs that are not being met. And so when these needs aren't being met, then you rise up and you get agitated and you express that agitation to your partner. And so you all bump heads and go back and forth because, again, needs are not being met in a relationship. And so we're going to dissect this thing right now and share some of those areas in which needs are not being met that lead to conflict in a relationship.
All right.
So my wife, you just mentioned a second ago about this whole rubbing up against each other and this whole attachment thing. And this is one core area in which somebody's need might not be getting met in a relationship. You know, we connect with each other in a relationship based off of the fact that we want to be close, we want to be connected, we want to be committed, we want to be attached to somebody. We have these different attachment styles. And so in a relationship, if you don't feel like you're securely attached in a relationship, then that can definitely lead to conflict in a relationship. And so that poses its own unique set of challenges. And like my wife mentioned a moment ago, sometimes people start the conflict because they want to feel attached. So even in engaging in an argument, what that does is it makes the person feel connected in a relationship because at least I'm getting some type of exchange. I'm getting some type of back and forth. And so I feel attached when we argue. I feel attached when we disagree because I feel like you're engaging me. But that's not the most healthiest way to engage in relationships and move and navigate through conflict.
So you know, we could do a whole teaching on attachment styles and how attachment, and I'm going to explain to you what I'm talking about when I say that, how that informs how we show up in our relationship. So we're not going to go deep into that. But what I do want you to know is that each of us, right, we were born, right, we were raised by parents or our primary caregivers, and however they attach to us, we know that little babies need to have what? Their primary caregiver. We want it to be mom who's taking care of us and responding to our needs and that kind of thing, right? But as you're a young person growing up from infant on up, however the people around you connect in with you, it teaches you your attachment style. Good evening, family. We see you, Sharon. It teaches you without you even realizing it. You're learning how to attach to other people. So your primary caregivers in your life as a young person, they, by the way that they show up with you, show you how to be with your boo. Did y'all hear what I said? And so you have a certain kind of attachment style, excuse me, and that's based on how you were raised. And so there are 4 different attachment styles. And when this is over, I'm going to drop a link, and you can actually go and take this attachment test. There's like you can Google attachment style, adult attachment styles, and you can find a quiz online, and it'll tell you what your attachment style is. And so I'm just going to tell you really quickly. We have secure, we have anxious, preoccupied. Anxious, preoccupied. That's one category. Dismissive, avoidant. That's another category. And then we've got fearful, avoidant. But the main thing I want to focus on is we've got secure, and then we've got anxious, and we've got avoidant. Okay. And then there's variations there, right? So, you know, if you are anxious, right, anxious, preoccupied, then you might feel a little more insecure, right? And you're unsure in your relationship and you need validation. And so then that can lead to conflict because, you know, you're like, well, where were you? You know, what were you doing? And why didn't you call me back? And well, how do I know that's not, you know, and you just have this general kind of way of being that questions and is always seeking reassurance, and you're very clingy sometimes. The avoidant person oftentimes is very independent and kind of wants to be on their own. Give me some space. Like I'm good. Like I don't need all of that. Right. And so they oftentimes are isolating themselves. Right. And they may have had parents. I didn't say this for the anxious person, but the avoidant person may have had parents who were not as emotionally available. They were not as, as much reaching out in terms of caretaking and that kind of thing in an emotionally available way. So they're a little more on their own and to themselves, right? And so anyway, these kinds of things, these show up and impact how we show up with our conflict. And when we don't even understand who we be. Like, so what is your attachment style? Write it down for my note takers. What is my attachment style? I need to figure that out and see how that is informing and showing up in terms of how I'm like getting into little blow-ups with my book.
And so again, we're speaking about this broad-based category of unmet needs that lead to conflict in your relationship. And so again, this is where a main reason why you're experiencing beef and drama in your relationship is because either you're experiencing some unmet needs or your partner is experiencing some unmet needs. So my wife, she just mentioned, and we just spoke about this whole attachment piece. The second one that we want to speak about is this whole acceptance piece. Are you in a relationship right now where you don't feel like you're accepted by your partner?
Anybody?
Is there anybody that's out there where they don't feel like they're accepted by their partner? Y'all gonna tell us?
If you don't feel like you're accepted fully, or maybe you've been there, maybe it's not in your current relationship, but you've been there, drop a note, drop a comment, let us know.
Yeah.
That thing is deep.
Yeah, it really is. And so let's qualify this thing. When I speak about acceptance, a lot of times people keep things and they secretly engage in their relationship. They're not sharing what their thoughts, their dreams, their goals, and their ambitions are because they're afraid that they're going to get rejected. They're going to get knocked down by their partner. And so do you feel in some sort of way that you're not being accepted by your partner based off of the fact that you don't feel like your partner believes in you? Who doesn't feel like their partner or their spouse believes in them? Who feels like they're doing this thing solo?
In certain areas.
In certain areas, and they don't feel like their partner really has their back. Who feels like they really can't be genuinely and authentically themselves in their relationship because their partner won't accept them for who they are?
Now, I love what Jamie has said here. Thank you for your transparency, Jamie. Jamie said, I feel like my drive is not accepted by my husband. Wow. My drive. I feel like my drive is not accepted by my husband.
And that's a deep one right there, because especially when it comes to male-female dynamics, I would be interested to hear you explain or, just elaborate on that particular point. But we have heard a lot of women say, like, I feel like I'm intimidating to my man. I feel like, he feels as though he's standing in my shadow.
Wow.
And that he's, my presence may be to some degree oppressive to him. And unfortunately, a lot of men have expressed that is their reality, where they feel like their woman is beating them over the head with the fact that they got X number of degrees, the fact that they make X number of dollars, and they can't necessarily compare in that regard. And so, sometimes we also project, and it might not necessarily be the reality. So sometimes guys have actually shared with me, like, I'm not beefing with the fact, I don't have issue with the fact that my wife makes more than me. I don't have issue with the fact that she finished school and I didn't. I don't have problems in that particular area, but sometimes women, based off of low self-esteem, and also men, might feel like, they might project that particular mindset onto the relationship, onto their partner, and it might not necessarily be true.
True. I want to shout out Mickey. Mickey, do your homework. Mickey is in college. She said, "Oh my goodness, I'm supposed to be doing my work, but every time y'all on, I gotta watch y'all. I'm gonna tell my professors that too." Do your work, Mickey. Quentin, I love your transparency. Quentin says, "I'll admit I have a phobia of conflict out of fear from going in with my lady too hard, and I feel she doesn't accept me and is calling me soft and meek." So the whole going in too hard. I mean, I've heard you actually say, like, sometimes I just need to get to myself because I don't want to go in too hard. And so a lot of times what that really is, it's really us not being fully comfortable with our own emotions. So we got to be willing. I mean, it is.
But also that's a reflection of us being emotionally aware too. And so, you can be uncomfortable with expressing emotion, but you can also be so emotionally astute that you would rather step off than spaz out.
And so what I would say is, this is how you know which side of the coin you're on. If you are, for the most part, stepping off so that you just don't have to kind of deal, you might say, well, I just want to get away because I don't want to go in too hard. But if you never challenge yourself to stay in it, stay in the uncomfortable place and be in the conflict, you never kind of engage it, then I would say that's discomfort with the emotion more so than or at least for some of the time, more so than anything. Because a lot of times we don't even realize how well we're able to do in certain things because we just avoid it.
Yeah.
We just don't do what we're supposed to do. So Angela says, I don't express myself emotionally because he's not an emotional person. She said, I'm a crier, but I hold back when I really need to let out a good old ugly cry. But I feel like I can't.
Wow.
Oh, wow. She says he wants me to man up when sometimes I need a shoulder to cry on. You know what? This is the thing. A lot of times, and I said this before, y'all, Angela, thank you, sis, for sharing that. Opposites attract. And so somebody who may be the crier, the other person is like, where they do that at? Why is it that deep? You got to do all that? Someone who is very kind of matter of fact and logical when you all are discussing certain things. And then the other person is very much into their feelings, very intuitive in the process, And so what we have to understand is that that's the gift that you have, Angela, the fact that you're sensitive and you get in your feelings, right? And you are emotional and you can release it through the tears. That's a gift. That's a gift, right? And at the same time, persons who are able to be in a place where they can really kind of do some appropriate detaching. Detaching is not a bad word, to detach a bit so that you can really make sense of what's going on. That's a gift. And so y'all both can give each other that.
Yeah.
But you got to be willing to be yourself. Look, if your relationship does not promote the idea for you, does not give you strength, does not empower you to be your authentic self, that's a problem. And a lot of times it's not just the relationship that should be giving you that. If you can't give it to yourself first, just a little bit, then your relationship is not going to do it. So it's not on the relationship to empower you to be you. It's on you. And so I feel you, because I can get very, very, cryy and, that's not even a word, but, that can be me a lot. And I used to hate when I get mad, I cry. I don't want to cry because I'm mad. You know what I'm saying? But I have learned that all of it's beautiful, and I'm just going to be real and authentic and accept myself. Even in the midst of it, sometimes I still feel like, what the hell am I doing? I don't want to do this. And it's okay. So we gotta be authentic in our relationships.
We have to be authentic, and I think that a lot of times people hide behind the veil and don't really want to expose themselves and be vulnerable and express the need to be accepted. And so what I want y'all to do right now is to drop a comment saying, I want to be accepted. Drop a comment saying, I want to be accepted. And when you write that, again, please share this video, because your partner may see it.
Yes.
You may have a friend that sees it. You may have a coworker. You may have a spouse. You may have a parent. You may have somebody who sees it. And what they're able to see and witness is the fact that you want to be accepted. Not only you, but other people want to be accepted as well. And so everybody wants to be accepted. So we're speaking about this piece right here, talking about unmet needs really being a primary reason why people get into beef in relationships. And so everybody, number one, wants to be attached. Number two, everybody wants to be accepted. And number three, everybody wants to experience some type of positive regard.
Positive regard.
Everybody wants to experience some type of positive regard. And I see people dropping the comments saying, I want to be accepted.
Yeah. Can we go back to that real quick? Look, y'all, this acceptance thing is deep. You understand?
And it doesn't make you weak.
No,
it doesn't make you weak to want to be accepted. Everybody wants approval. Everybody gravitates towards the applause. And so the applause is really somebody validating, somebody stamping you, somebody co-signing you and saying like, you're okay. You're okay. And so what does it mean to you to have somebody pat you on the back and say, you're okay? What does it mean? You're okay too, man.
Y'all, I just want to say this though. This whole acceptance piece, I put this out in a video or something some time back. And so I said, if we could all contemplate this one principle, this one idea, this one sentence, this one thought, I want to be accepted. I accept myself. I am okay. If we could do that, I don't care what we are talking about. I don't care what issue you have. I don't care who didn't love you good enough. I don't care who didn't come ask for you. I don't care who didn't cover you, who was talking about you, who did what to you. I don't care. If you could get to the place, if we all could get to the place, yes, y'all are putting it there. I want to be accepted. But we can recognize first and foremost that we want to be accepted, and then look to ourselves and say, I accept myself. I'm okay. I'm okay. Let me tell you something. Your relationship automatically just got more powerful and just more productive than it was the 2 seconds before you said that thing. So we have to understand how powerful that thing is, and that it really is on us. It's on us to recognize our vulnerabilities and the fact that our vulnerability, man, it makes us strong. So that acceptance piece is big. Look, you can't have a productive conversation. Of course, you're going to get into some conflict because I got to save face. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to represent, I got to pop my collar a little bit, even in my relationship. Like, who Who do you think you're coming at?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? No, it's not like that. I mean, I still feel that stuff rising up in me even today. And my husband is the person who I feel the safest with. And I still feel it rise up in me when I'm talking to him, where I'm really trying to protect myself, where I'm trying to protect not just myself in terms of the particular conversation, but the image. The image that I have of myself. Not that he has of me. The image I have of myself. Deep. You understand? And so when we can get to this place of full acceptance, that we don't have to play those games. We can just be real and we can be honest. And so much of the issues and so much of the conflict that we experience, it can be minimized, or we can get through it much more quickly. Much more quickly.
It begins with you. It begins with you. Start this thing tonight, y'all. You know, go in the bathroom, take off all your clothes, and look in the mirror and say, I accept myself.
That's right.
I accept myself.
That's right.
Look at yourself in the eyes and say, I accept myself. You know, we can't be vulnerable with ourselves, and we can be vulnerable.
And if you want to take that activity and knock it up a notch, I like this activity that Lisa Nichols, who's a great speaker, talks about. She does an activity for like 21 days where you get up in the morning and you look in the mirror, or at the end of the day, whatever you want to do it, and you say to yourself, my note takers need to write this down. She says 7 things. I do 3 things because I can't even do 7. I can't remember to do it every day, damn near. So I definitely ain't doing 7 things. But, I say 3 things. 3 things that you're proud of yourself for, 3 things that you forgive yourself for, and 3 things that you commit to yourself. 3 things that you're proud of yourself for, 3 things that you forgive yourself for, and 3 things that you commit to yourself going forward. So that right there is really good in terms of this whole piece around acceptance, just accepting ourselves, loving ourselves. We are okay. Okay.
So that leads us to my third point here, y'all, and that's really in reference to this whole positive regard. No, we didn't touch on the positive regard piece. And so in reference to positive regard, positive regard specifically speaks about, just wanting to be liked by your partner, wanting to be liked by your partner. And so if you're in a relationship right now and you feel like your partner can't stand you, it's probably based off of the fact that they're not really expressing feelings of affirmation, thoughts of affirmation. They're not really giving you kind words and expressing positive regard to you. So again, everybody wants to be liked. Yeah. You want to be liked by your partner. You want to be loved by your partner.
Yeah. And so how is that different than acceptance? So I can say I accept you. Like I accept you in all of your flaws, all of your foolishness, and all of your many, many flaws, right? Like I can be like that, right? But it's different to say that I like you. And when somebody tells you that they like you and you get that energy from them, you get a genuine sense of connection from them, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel warm and fuzzy on the inside, and it gives you a sense of confidence. And what we see in relationships is that the woman has so much impact on the man, and the man has so much impact on the woman. You have so much opportunity with your partner to raise their self-esteem by just giving them compliments, by just telling them like, wow, I didn't know you could do that. That was great. By just showing them like, man, I'm feeling you. Like, man, you never seem to, just like stop amazing me, because I can't believe you. I can't figure out how to do that. And you figured it out, right? It's that positive regard. I like you. You cool, right? If that exists in the relationship, then that is a definite positive.
Yeah, I see Mickey says that, he does that or she does that daily, which is a good thing. I want to lift up a comment over here that Mike made. He said that they've been there in the past, and going through the process of counseling has been worth going through. Once they found out how to engage in conflict resolution, their connections have been better. And so I'm shouting this particular comment out because sometimes men resist the process of therapy, resist the process of engaging in couples work and couples coaching, et cetera, et cetera. And so, to hear Mike is vouching for it. He's saying that it's increased the quality of their connection in a relationship. And so I respect you, Mike, for you just dropping that comment right there. Again, don't shy away from it. Don't be afraid of it. The missus and I, we do it. We work with couples. And so, again, you want to make sure that you're engaging with somebody who's able to be balanced and, offer a unique perspective in terms of honoring both people's perspective when they're working with you. In addition to that, y'all, I see here where some people are saying that they're having the same issue in their relationship. Jamie is saying that we're talking about this thing time in and time out about what we want out of life. And it seems as if he's giving the same answers, but he's not putting any action behind it. No action.
Whoop,
No
whoop,
action,
whoop,
just words.
whoop.
And so that's extremely problematic, you know, but again, it's a part of the process. And so when you look at the stages of change, whether it be individually or collectively, you got this whole thing that's called pre-contemplation. And so you might drop something on him. He might express that he wants to do it, but he really might not necessarily be thinking about making a change or taking action on it. And so it's in the back of his mind, something that's not even necessarily ruminating, but it's out there in space. But he knows that it's something that needs to be done because you're lifting it up. When he gets to a place where he's actually contemplating and ready to take action, that's what you want him to be in right now, but he might just not be there. And so unfortunately, when you're in a relationship, you're in a partnership with somebody, he's not working on your clock. You want him to step on this thing and get to it, but again, he's on his own time frame. So you got to make some difficult decisions in some situations, whether or not his clock is acceptable to you.
And he got to do the same thing.
And he got to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I want to pause for a minute. I want to know, you know, for those of you who are watching, I want to know right now, I want you to just tell me right off the cuff, once I give you these choices, tell me where you fall. Where do you and your partner fall? And I want to know in terms of your conflict style, okay? What is your relationship fighting style? And I want to know what resonates with you. It's not a lot of choices, but it's going to be one that resonates with you. Are you validating? Validating. That means that you're able to let each other know in the midst of your disagreements, in the midst of your arguments. I see what you're saying with this. I'm considering, you know, what you just said about that, right? That you're able to actually affirm your partner in the midst of an argument. Like I'm upset, but I do recognize what you're saying right here, so that you all are able to show empathy, right? And make some level of repair in the middle of arguing. You know what I mean? Like, my bad, I did get a little hype back there, but you know, I'm working on it or whatever. So if you are that couple, validating, write it down. Volatile. These are the couples who seem to thrive on constant conflict. Constant conflict. And you may not see yourself in that way, but I want you to see the truth tonight. Mm-hmm. So that means that you are in perpetual disagreement. At least it seems that way. Okay. And you know, you all oftentimes both very independent, both very opinionated. You see yourselves as equals, and that's a good thing, right? Like, well, shouldn't we see ourselves as equals? But let me tell you something. Depending on what my husband and I are talking about, you know, I defer to him because it's his area. We have determined that there are certain things in the relationship that he has, you know, executive privilege on. And there's certain things in the relationship that I have executive privilege on. And I will call out that thing. I'd be like, well, look, after we done talked about something for about, you know, 10, 15, 20 minutes, I'm like, well, babe, look, we've talked about this and I appreciate it, but this is my area. So that's me saying, like, we done talked about this enough. This is my area. And he respects that. And he does the same thing. Okay. So two people who are in a volatile relationship in terms of your fighting style, you know, you all see that everything is equal. I get to weigh in on everything the same as you get to. And it doesn't mean that you don't want to hear from the other person, but if you all both have to come to complete agreement on everything, you will have more conflict and you will be stuck more because there's going to be so much that you all probably disagree on. There's got to be some spaces in your relationship where you say, you know what, that doesn't matter to me as much as it does to him. I think that's a dumb move, but he got it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not going to take away from me. There's got to be something that you're willing to compromise on. And the compromise just looks like I don't have to be the decision maker. There will be things that absolutely both of y'all have to be in on, and both of you will have to work out until you come to an agreement, right? Yeah. But you have to understand that when you have a volatile fighting style, then you have very intense fights. You all both feel like you have to weigh in fully on everything. So everything takes a lot longer to get through. You don't make a lot of progress, and it seems like it's perpetual. So validating, is that you? Volatile, is that you? Conflict avoiding. Some of y'all already said that. You know, and these are people who are basically the opposite of the volatile folks, right? Because you're minimizing everything. Ain't nothing a problem. You're avoiding conflict at all times by any means necessary. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not really trying to and then a lot of times we'll say stuff like, I'm not trying to go there. I don't really have time for all of that. It's not that serious. And some people might even reward you for that kind of avoidance. Like, that's good because you don't try to just, you know, get into stuff, and we don't, you just be nice.
Yeah.
Right. But that's a dysfunctional kind of pattern, avoiding conflict, because when you avoid conflict, then you avoid productive repair. That means like there's some things where we are not on the same page, and where I might be hurt or where I might be concerned, and there's no ability to repair it because we won't go through the messiness and the yuckiness of what happened, so that we can get to the other side and we can be healed, so that I can get the apology that I feel I need, so that you can get the validation that you feel you need. We never get through that. So what are we doing? And those people who avoid conflict, we're stacking up bullshizzle. We're just stacking it up. You know what I'm saying? Just stacking up the shiznit, and at some point, that shiznit turns into resentment. It turns into resentment because it's unresolved stuff. And then you get mad. And when you come to see somebody like us, we like, okay, we understand you mad, but you understand you don't want to be stacking it because you avoiding. So that one right there. And so there's another one here, but I'm going to leave that one. So I just want you all to recognize what style you have. Are you validating? Are you volatile, or are you conflict avoiding? And you may be a little bit of all of them, but there's one that you lean towards, and you need to be honest about that. And it may be that certain areas you lean more towards one category in certain areas than you do in others. But you need to be honest about that thing. And where do you want to be? You want to be validating. That's where you want to be. And we've gotten really good at that.
Yeah, we absolutely have.
It's taken a long time and a lot of stretching, but
a lot of stretching.
You know what I'm saying? I've gotten really good, like, to be able to say, and this is in no way like trying to like go or anything.
But that means you're about to go.
No.
That's what that means.
No. I'm not trying to go. I'm just saying, like, I want people to understand that this is normal. Like, I've gotten really good at being able to say the appropriate thing to my husband. I'm not lying. I'm not telling a lie or whatever. But to be able to give him his props in the middle of us being in some, stressful conversation, arguing or whatever, and to like defer to you or say, you're right about that or whatever. And I'm not feeling it at all because I'm petty. You know what I'm saying? I've said that before. Anybody who follows me knows I'm petty.
Yeah, you can be petty.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So I'm mad. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about you in my head. And then later on, I go and write in my journal about you some more. I'm like, this is dumb as hell. All of that. But he would never know it because I have learned how to be disciplined and to discipline my tongue and to discipline my mind and to what? Self-soothe. And we talk about that a lot. Self-soothe. We think that's only for babies. They get a little pacifier, put it in their mouth.
They put their thumb in their mouth.
Put thumb in their mouth. They do all of that stuff, right? They put these things in their mouth to what? Self-soothe. But as adults, we have to also self-soothe. We have to also do that. We've got to figure out what is it that we need to do to bring ourselves down. That is a skill. And if you don't know how to do that, boo, that's inappropriate.
I'm sorry.
Some self-soothe, no alcohol. This fool.
I'm just playing.
We got to learn how to do that and understand that if we don't know how to do that for ourselves, then hey, you're gonna be struggling because that's nobody else's job other than yours. It's your job to do it for yourself.
So again, y'all. We're covering these different reasons why couples engage in conflict, why they be beefing, fighting, et cetera, which really stems from this overarching issue, which is really unmet needs in a relationship. And so when people don't feel like they're attached in a relationship, it leads to conflict. When you don't feel like you're being accepted in a relationship, it leads to conflict. When you don't feel like you're experiencing any positive regard, when your partner is saying, I like you, or they express that they love you, et cetera, you're experiencing conflict in a relationship. And so next, number 4, y'all, is when you don't feel like you have any autonomy in a relationship, that's when you experience conflict too. According to self-determination theory, it's expressed that we all have a desire to be agents of our own actions. Like we want to have some measure of control in a relationship. And so it's extremely important when you're connected with somebody that you feel like you have some sense of autonomy in a relationship. Like you can express your thoughts, you can do what you need to do, you can express your feelings, et cetera, versus you feeling like you're being controlled and overwhelmed by the pressure of your partner in a relationship. It's extremely important that you have your own sense of self, your own identity, and you don't feel like your partner's identity is the one that's controlling and dictating the flow of the relationship.
So I want to share with you a couple of sentences from a study that was done. And these authors found that people in relationships in general were more unsatisfied, and this makes a lot of sense, right? Were more unsatisfied with their relationships when they felt overly controlled and less autonomous, right? Autonomous means that we get to be able to decide for ourselves how we're going to move and flow in the world, right? But listen to this. This is what I found really interesting. But they found that the unhealthy communication patterns really rose significantly for men when men lacked a sense of autonomy in a relationship. So all, men and women both were not as satisfied, right, in their relationship when they feel like they're being, overly controlled and they don't have autonomy on some level. But the men, because women probably just like, we talking about it, like, I have a problem with this, I'm concerned. But the men, particularly in terms of their communication, struggled, right? And that is where they had significant problems, and that increased when they didn't get a sense of autonomy. So you have to ask yourself, do you want to be right? Or do you want to be in relationship? Do you want to be right? Or do you want to be in a relationship? Do you want to control everything that your partner is doing? Does that make you feel safe? Does that make you feel good? Does that do something for you? Then what I'm going to tell you is to go to therapy. Go to therapy so that you can figure out how to feel good and how to feel fulfilled on your own without someone else having to do something to make you feel okay. Right? You don't, we all want our partners to do some things. We might be a little bothered if we don't get our way or they don't do. But if it's really a problem for you, where you struggle with being a little controlling, where you're in a relationship and you find that you keep finding yourself with people who are controlling, or maybe that's just the dynamic of your relationship and it's been like that for a long time. That's just how y'all flow. You can always change. Somebody can shift at any point in time, because the more insight that you get, then you have now new choices and new opportunities in front of you. So what I would say to you is, hey, you need to be able to have some sense of autonomy in your relationship, because when you do not have that, it leads to great conflict, and the conflict will not go away until you get yourself together and stop it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And for those of you who really don't understand or don't get what my wife just mentioned a moment ago about men having challenges and difficulty with that particular dynamic in terms of, feeling oppressed in a relationship when they can't necessarily, when they feel like they're being controlled and there's no sense of autonomy. What I want to lift up is the truth of that particular situation. And I want to express that we live in a patriarchal society, y'all. And so Black men or men in general have been conditioned to be at the head, to be leaders, to be the ones who are making the decisions, to be the ones who are in charge. And so when they're in a relationship with a woman who doesn't honor, doesn't validate, doesn't respect, knocks down, belittles, et cetera, that's an extreme knock on a man's ego. And it's not to say that particular way is the right way. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that...
I'm going to say, you said patriarchy, and then you said...
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that just based off of a man's perspective, again, we've been conditioned to expect that women behave.
Oh, no,
in
you
a particular
didn't.
way. We've been conditioned to expect that women behave in a particular way. Again, I'm not vouching for it. I'm not saying that it's right. But what I'm saying is that as men, we've been conditioned to think that women need to follow men. Women need to be subservient to men.
A lot of women believe that.
Women need to respect and bow down and basically fall back when it comes to men. And so it's totally different than the African-centered perspective, in the sense that there was balance. There was this duality where you had the female, you had the male, and each represented and, had weight in terms of value, in terms of their perspective. And, each was definitely needed in order to bring harmony to the whole. And so it's totally different in the society right here where patriarchy is at the head. And so, again, men have basically been conditioned to believe that women need to fall back. And so when you're in a relationship with a woman and she's not falling back, then that right there instantaneously leads to conflict, because she's not being obedient to what she's been, or what we believe she's been conditioned to be.
So what's your challenge is to the men then? Get the men right now.
I'm lifting up the dynamic where there's a challenge in terms of the man's perspective when it comes to how he's engaged in a relationship with a woman. And so, fellas, what I'm encouraging you to do is to reframe your perspective on how relationships should be. Again, your woman is not less than you. Your woman is equal to you. You're equal to her. Your woman is a partner. She's not a child. So when you're in a relationship with your partner, you need to recognize that she has value She needs to be honored. She needs to be lifted up. She needs to be respected. She needs to be treated like your queen. She needs to be respected like your queen. And so for you to be in a relationship and feel like you have no sense of control, that's a you issue. That's a you issue in a relationship. So you need to make sure that you're managing yourself and not be so preoccupied with managing her.
Yeah, I better give him some love for that one right there.
It's not about you necessarily trying to control her. You need to control you. Again, she brings weight to the relationship and she brings value because she stands on her own right. Women be doing it.
Yes, we do.
And we need to respect the fact that they be doing it and honor them for the fact that they be doing it as well.
Mm-hmm. Say that. Okay, so here is the last one. They give you some love, babe.
Thank y'all.
Okay, so go ahead. So this last piece here leads to conflict.
Yeah.
Y'all just don't even understand.
So as it is, when
it
comes to the whole need of autonomy in a relationship, everybody wants to feel like they have some sense of self-control, that they can make their own decision. They're not being influenced by their partner. They also want to feel some sense of competence in a relationship. Studies have shown that when it comes to couples who are engaged in conflict, if there's no sense of, competence in a relationship, like they feel like they can be empowered, like they feel like they can stand on their own 2 feet. When it comes to the relationship, then there's challenges that arise.
And don't we all want to be successful? I mean, just think about your relationship right now. Okay, so like if you are moving from day to day and you all are having arguments, right, and nobody's attempting to make a repair. We've talked about that in the past. Making a repair is intentionally reaching out to close the gap in between you and your partner from this moment or this space where you had conflict. So you have to make a repair, okay? And if you don't do that, then you all just stay in this place of being separated, right? And kind of going to work and doing your thing and not coming back together. This is that, we ain't talk for 2 days, 3 days, 5. No, we don't do that. We have to make a repair. And if you can't do it, by literally opening up your mouth and saying, like, I know we got into a bad argument yesterday, but I love you. And I want you to know that, I'm here for you and I'm still mad, but I love you. You know what I'm saying? Or just leave it, I love you, on a sticky note. Leave it on the counter in the kitchen, right? Some way you make a repair, right? Like if you're not able to do that, that's a problem. That's a problem. You have to be willing to do that. You have to be willing to do that. And when we don't do that, then what happens to ourselves and to our partner? This whole piece of competence. And competence is not just for the workplace. Do I feel as though I have do I feel like I have the skills, the essence needed to be a wife to my husband? Like, can I give him what he's looking for? Can I show up the way he needs me to show up? Does he see me as enough? Does he see me as adequate? Because if I'm always coming up short because we keep having these arguments and he's criticizing this about me and he's criticizing, how I am with the kids and how I do with the money and I don't do this with the food and, whatever it is, right? Or I'm too, aggressive, right? Whatever it is, everything is always a problem that I'm walking around with a wounded ego and I'm not feeling very confident about my ability to do my job. So we have to balance this whole piece of reassuring our partner that you are competent, you are enough, you are okay with our criticism. Do you understand what I'm saying, y'all? We got to balance that thing out because if all we're giving is the criticism, and we don't mean to a lot of times, you know what I'm saying? But we have to be like, dang. Because sometimes I'll be in my mind, y'all, let me tell y'all something real quick. I'll be walking around the house and I'm thinking about certain things and seeing stuff and like he ain't do this and he ain't send the email and he ain't open the email from me and I'm like, where is he? You know what I'm saying? And meanwhile, I done racked up about 3, 4, 5 things on my list that I want to tell him about. Like, when it's with the baby, you have to do, and you didn't do that. And you didn't even open up the email because I went in the email and it's still bolded. Why you ain't click on my damn email? You know what I'm saying? If you would have clicked on the email, you would have saw that I said that you need to call over here. You didn't call over here.
And I
Hold up, y'all. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? I know the sisters know what I'm talking about. Who got lists? Who got a list like me?
You're going to tell me so why I got to click on the email. You're going to tell me anyway.
And that's what he always say, like,
let me know. I mean, you're going to talk to me about it. We talk all the time.
I only talk to you about it because you don't read.
No.
You don't read.
No, you talk to me about it because you like to bump your gun. That's what it is.
No, you don't read. So hold up. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. We got our list, right? But I have to sometimes, more often than not, actually, I have to stop myself. I have to say, wait a minute now. 1 or 2 things at a time. You can't go hit him over the head with all this stuff. Because if he did that to me, And, I have to say, women, we are, we tend to be professional list makers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And like these things, you got to check off, you know what I'm saying? And husband, I got about 6 of these on here that you got to do, and you ain't coming up strong with it. Wait, why you ain't do it? If I have to check myself so that I do not wear down his competence. So when that happens, that leads to conflict, because that becomes what? Another area for resentment, as we talked about earlier. Yeah. Another area for resentment, LBK, and also it just creates this distance between us.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, Trinista, he don't read, girl. He don't read. Look, did anybody, can I just ask that? Did any women out here, and y'all ain't said nothing in the thing except for Trinista. Okay, then do men read?
How you know it's not the women that don't read?
Do men don't? Do they read?
We do read.
Like,
we read all the time.
They don't read. I'm talking about.
I just don't read.
He gonna say he just don't read my emails. You know what I'm saying? I do emails with bullet points. You know what I'm saying? I have bold face at the top, and break the thing down. I'm like, did you look at the day? But what is the point of me going through all of that? We got to do everything. Thank you, Sharon. She said, nope, not at all. Thank you, Lisa. Men don't. Patrice said, no.
I guess
Angela said, nope.
Can y'all stop sending so many damn emails?
She asked,
Can y'all just stop doing that? Just stop sending so many emails.
You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all don't pay attention. I asked him stuff. I'd be like, well, what did it say? He's like, I don't know, something. I'm like, what? Did you read it? Like, I mean,
I got the gist.
He always say, I got the gist. I read the first word in the first sentence and the last word in the last sentence. And that's his gist. Okay.
So let's shift, y'all. So we're going to shift now to how to meet your partner's needs. So again, we identified 5 reasons or 5 areas that we engage in beef.
I didn't know we were shifting.
Yeah, we're shifting because we can't just speak about the reasons why couples
Sometimes we can. Sometimes we can.
Sometimes we can, but we can't right now. 5 reasons why couples engage in beef
shooting the breeze
in relationships. But now we're going to shift in terms of like what you can do.
Kiwana, you ain't miss it all because he just added on another part. So you good, girl.
Yeah, go ahead and share this video, y'all. We got a couple of more things that we're going to share.
Yeah, share. He got his own list.
Yeah, I do. I got my own list. And so if you would have read what I sent you earlier.
Oh, you didn't send me nothing.
If you would have read what I sent you earlier, then you would be tipped to what I'm talking about. I did.
Because if you did, I would have read it.
I did send it to you.
He did.
All right.
Don't lie on the live stream.
So again, when it comes to what you can do to really stop this whole beefing thing, one of the most important things that you can do, y'all, is to really just acknowledge your partner.
Damn, there's a lot of things. Come on. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Okay. He tried to get on me about this last week, y'all. He's like, can you stop trying to be like when it get to be 10 o'clock?
I'm just gonna let you
when it's 10 o'clock, I'll be like,
but yeah,
it's time to go. Okay, I'm sorry, baby. I'm being obedient. Go ahead. You like that? You like I use that word?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead, sweetheart.
Nah, go ahead. You go ahead with the next one.
Oh, you want me to go ahead? Yeah. With acknowledge?
You can do whatever you want.
No, go ahead, babe.
No, I'm good.
He's mad, y'all. He's mad. Okay, so excuse me. So we talked about some of the things that, get in the way of, having good, productive confrontation, right? We can have those 2 words in the same sentence. Good confrontation, good conflict management, right? And we talked about what gets in the way. Here now we're going to tell you a few things that you can do so that you can get on the positive side of things. You want to acknowledge. We say that all the time, and I think people nod their head like, yeah, that makes sense, yeah, But we need to acknowledge our partner. That means do not ignore their presence. Mm-hmm. Consider some ways this evening that you can acknowledge your partner. Okay. Yeah, Mickey, he was self-soothing with his drink. Girl, that's exactly what he was doing. I want you to consider, though, some ways to let your partner know that you see them. And when we say see, that's a capital S, capital E, capital E. That means that, I see you. I respect you. I feel you. I'm with you. I'm acknowledging you. I'm not just moving through my life and I'm not attached to you. Mm-hmm. I feel you. Black folks, we out and about. Anybody know about this, and particularly if you're in an area and maybe it's not a lot of us and you see somebody and y'all look at each other, what you do? You know what I'm saying? You be like, what you do? Especially the brothers. Like, women might be like, how you doing? Right. Or just smile like right. Because we want to say, I see you. And what we don't recognize sometimes, particularly for people of color and African Americans in particular, and especially when we're in places where there's not a lot of us, we don't even know that's what we're doing. We're saying, I see you. I see you, my sister. I see you, my brother. You know what I mean? Like, because we up in here. You know what I'm saying? It's only a little bit of us, right?
Yeah.
So we give a little head nod. So you got to be able to do that with your partner. How can you do that? What ways? I don't know what it is. Like, oh my gosh, the way he cleaned that deck was something serious. And he'd be all psyched about his technique or his barbecue sauce. You know what I'm saying? Because he make the best barbecue sauce on the block. And you're like, that Joan it's all right. You know, it's good, but he has so much. He takes it in. Like, it's a big deal for him, right? How do you see him? How do you acknowledge him? So acknowledge him, right? We talked about acceptance and the fact that everybody wants to be accepted. So what are the things that your partner has in their heart that are sensitive for them, that, may be really close to their heart, that they got some issues with, right? Maybe they don't even fully acknowledge it, but you already know he got some mommy issues. Yep. Yeah. Oh my goodness. You already know he got some issues because he grew up in foster care. So, he doesn't trust a lot of people. You already know he's not even fully there, but he wants to be accepted. So how is it that you speak to him or to her, right? And show that they are enough, just as they are. One of the most powerful ways you can do that is to tell them that specifically when they mess up. You are enough. You are okay. This was a mess up. This was a mess up right here. But baby, you all right. You good. Just keep going. You know what I'm saying? Tell them that when they mess up. That's the essence of acceptance. You understand? That's the essence of acceptance. I love you unconditionally and I accept you for who you are.
And so another one, y'all, is to just simply respond.
Respond.
So your partner, nobody wants to feel like they're being ignored, like they're not being acknowledged or accepted. Respond to your partner.
Some of y'all are some professional ignorers too.
Yeah.
Y'all know who y'all are. Who's the professional ignorers on here today? Y'all know they don't say nothing. They just be like ignoring, knowing their partner trying to get some attention. They like, I'm not acknowledging. I'm not playing that game. That's what they say.
Now I feel like I perfected that with the kids, but which isn't really a good thing. Because sometimes we got 5 kids, y'all. 5 kids, 5 children, 5. And you got all of these different demands and needs, et cetera, et cetera. And so, when it comes to responding, it's extremely important because again, when you respond, you're basically acknowledging that what the person is saying is of value, and you want to make sure that they're being heard, that they feel like they're being respected in your response.
Your partner needs to feel like this. If you're hurting, the world stops and I listen. If Aize is hurting, the world stops. I listen. He is the priority. That's what your partner needs to know. That no matter what's going on, if they are hurting, if they have something going on, you know what? Everything else got to pause. Because I got to stop. And my attention turns to you. Absolutely.
Another one, y'all, is that you want to encourage autonomy. You want to encourage it. Sometimes people are so attached and so enmeshed in their relationships that the idea of your partner being autonomous is uncomfortable. It's awkward. It feels like they're leaving me. They're creating some sense of distance in the relationship. No, everybody has the right to self-actualization. And what you want to do is you want to encourage that. You want to encourage your partner to develop themselves and be the best person that they can be. So allow your partner the space to be, autonomous. Encourage the autonomy. Because again, in doing that, what you're doing is you're helping the partner enhance their sense of self. And you're enabling them to really achieve a space of self-actualization.
Y'all, this has been good. This has been really good. You all have been dropping some really good comments. Show Love said, your parents had 5, 3 boys, 2 girls. So you already know. Look at Sakinya here. She said, I'm a professional ignorer when I want to be. Mickey said professional. I'm sorry, did you say something? Some of us are some professional ignorers. We gotta work on that thing. Now, sometimes it's good because it helps you with the kid, but you gotta be careful with that ignoring the kid stuff too. Because look, our kids will be saying to him like, "You're not listening to me," and they get all their feelings and stuff like, "You don't want to hear what I have to say." I be looking at him like, "Boo, you better get it together."
Yeah, I need to work on that. Angela said, "I'm a professional ignorer and me."
Angela, you a professional mean mugger.
Yeah, I feel you.
Well, sometimes we have to pull those tools out. Those are strategies. Those are skills. And so don't just throw them away, but use them selectively. use them selectively, because I know all about me mugging and ignoring and all of that good stuff. All right. So this was really good for the Winstons. I'm so glad you enjoyed it, Deanya. Deanya Nicole Winston is on, and she was a part of Black Marriage Day with us in the past. So happy to see you on. So guys, we just want y'all to know that this relationship thing is hard work, but you get hardcore results when you put in the work. Thank you so much, Miss Rhea, the stylist. I appreciate that, love.
You missing people on YouTube.
And you got the people on YouTube too. Black Butterfly, you late. She said, I'm new to the live. Been watching on and off for some years. I'm so glad you are back with us, Black Butterfly. We appreciate you. So guys, just remember, y'all, look, I tell people all the time, sometimes you're doing good. Sometimes you ain't. Sometimes you find that you're moving forward, and sometimes you find you're slipping back. But all you got to do when you find yourself slipping is say, what can I do? Take a small baby step, and figure out one thing. So if there's one thing that stood out to you tonight, pick that one thing and make that change. Knowledge really is not power. Knowledge acted upon is true power. So do something. Stop playing.
And start pushing.
Peace, y'all.
All right, y'all. Peace.